What's going on, you bunch of heathens? We're back with another Found and Explained video. This one covering the Saab 35 Draken. It's called How Sweden Made the Best Fighter Jet. And honestly, the amount of times I've played against this damn thing in fucking War Thunder is annoying. It really is annoying. Either way, make sure you guys check out the original. It's linked down below. Found and Explained. Amazing people. Really cool. Without further ado, let's jump in.
By this jet in today's video sponsor, War Thunder.
Why am I not surprised that it's a War Thunder sponsor?
How do you defend a country that's so big that it could cover half of Western Europe, yet most of the population lives right here, within spitting distance of the big baddie of the Cold War, the Soviet Union? The simple solution
that'd be hard.
is by creating the ultimate fighter. This is the story of how the Swedes built a formidable opponent to any jet aircraft in the world, how they invented the Cobra maneuver, and how they
did that?
the foundation for one of the strongest air forces in Europe just by thinking outside of the box.
I didn't know that.
This is the Vikings Dragon, the Saab J-35 Draken.
It is pretty cool.
You've probably heard that Sweden recently joined NATO, and this is a big deal because of their
Very
policy
big deal.
of 200 years of military neutrality was just thrown away. After losing a bunch of territory, to be more precise, the whole of Finland, to Russia back in 1809, and then later on some more land in the Napoleonic Wars, the Swedes had had enough of war. After
I don't blame
centuries
them.
of battling and fighting,
Personally,
it was time to
I probably wouldn't go neutrality. I'd probably go fucking. I'd probably be just pissed that, dude, I lost a shitload of land to Russia and then some more to fucking Napoleon. Hell no. I'd be kind of pissed about that too.
take a break and build in peace. So they decided that they wouldn't participate in any war in the future and instead just sit back and enjoy the meatballs and cinnamon rolls from IKEA while the rest of Europe did what they do best, fighting. That even included the War to End All Wars and its sequel, World War II Electric Boogaloo, in which Sweden allowed the
That's a good
Germans
one.
to pass through their territory to invade Norway. That's how neutral they are. This is important for our story because after the formation of NATO
Sweden.
in 1949, Sweden didn't want to be part of it. However, if you're not part of NATO, then no one is going to defend you if the Soviets just go crazy one day and decide to steamroll over Europe. So they needed to take things into their own hands and find a way to defend themselves, and nothing does that better than a fighter jet.
Ooh, the music.
The 1950s was dubbed the supersonic era. It was all about speed, shiny, polished jets, and dangerous pilots with big forearms behind the controls. So the idea behind this new jet to defend Sweden was pretty darn straightforward. It needed to be fast, over Mach 1.5 to be precise, and it also had to be durable and pointy.
It needs to be pointy.
Because everybody liked pointy supersonic jets back in this era. Jokes aside, Sweden needed an interceptor more than a standard fighter. Due to the size of its territory and large unpopulated areas, one of the main requirements for this new jet was to be able to take off and land pretty much anywhere. And
so it had to be rugged.
Simple enough to be maintained that could be done.
Damn, just shoving that fucker in there, huh?
Fast that it could intercept and destroy the main Armageddon delivery vehicle at the time, Soviet bombers. So they decided to start with something very cute, called the Little Draken. No, I'm not making this up. They created a small variant as a aerodynamics testbed to try out this new wing concept.
I mean, that's a
delta wing.
I mean, to be fair, that's a smart way to do it. It's like, hey, let's not expend a bunch of resources on a full size. Let's just see if the concept even works and make a smaller version. I like that. That's cool. And I didn't know, of course, the Dorito. The Swedes are the ones who fucking made the Delta Wing. I actually didn't know that.
Spin when this flying prototype of the small variant of this new jet unintentionally broke the sound barrier whilst testing just the afterburner. damn,
Oh,
they knew they
shit.
were cooking up something special. Thus, the full-scale prototype was green-lighted right away, and the Saab J35 Draken was born.
Hey, how'd it go? We just broke the sound barrier. You're just supposed to be testing the afterburner. Why'd you leave it on so long? I didn't. That's fucking insane.
You have to imagine what it would have been like to fly such a powerful, cutting-edge aircraft as a test pilot. Especially since the pilots back then would have grown up with propeller aircraft.
No, that's some shit. That's some shit my pants type shit.
Sound barrier. Wait, you don't have to imagine what it would be like to fly. With today's video sponsor War Thunder, you can do just that.
Hold on. It's a year old, so I'm skipping the ad.
The special magic of the Draken's speed was its delta wing. However, the delta wing design comes with a massive flaw: trouble at low speeds.
Yeah, that is a big issue with it.
Problem. World War II fighters usually had trapezoidal or elliptical wings optimized for subsonic and slower speeds in general to help them take off and land. But the Nazis, with their Me-262, brought the swept wing design into the fray with jet engines and supersonic speeds. But there was one big shortcoming. It wasn't very good at the slower speeds, and the stall speed was much higher.
Ooh.
This was then refined into the Delta wing design.
Never mind, I'll wait.
Dassault Mirage 3. Giving aircraft lower wing loadings, lower stall speeds, and better structural stability.
Oh, so they didn't make the Delta wing.
Aerodynamic stability and a quick
they just like more or less perfect it then.
High angle of attack. The Russians attempted to get around these new problems with the MiG-21, with additional tailplanes to complement the Delta wings and help with that maneuverability. So the Swedes saw the French and the Soviets.
So no, they didn't invent it. So no, it was they more or less perfected it, I guess,
design
with the Saab.
Thought to think outside the box with a question: what if we made a delta wing aircraft that could fly well at slower speeds?
Of course,
was the first aircraft to feature a double delta or cranked delta wing design. The first part of the wing was swept
so that's what they did
to minimize drag and give better supersonic performance, all while integrating air intakes into the wing area, whilst the second part of the wing surface was only swept back.
This right here, the air intakes on the front, I have to say I'm not the biggest fan of. I personally don't like the aesthetic of it. I get why they're there for, you know, like actual reasons for it. Like I get it. I just personally am not the biggest
Instead of
fan of them.
ailerons and flaps, large inner and outer elevons were used to control roll and yaw. It's a pretty standard choice with tailless delta and flying wing aircraft today because
sexy
of
beast.
the lack of tailplanes. But at the time, this was pretty cutting edge. Now, this plane didn't have fly-by-wire controls or artificial intelligence or computers to help with the instabilities of delta wing flight, so its performance was pretty darn incredible for tech at the time. The engine chosen for the
that'd be hard to fly then.
License-built Rolls-Royce Avon, giving the aircraft somewhat of a low thrust-to-weight ratio of 0.7, but an impressive maximum speed of Mach 2.3. The first flight was performed in 1955, and while testing the second prototype, which was equipped with the afterburner, they finally broke the sound barrier and was able to test its supersonic performance of this promising design. But what was funny is that the pilot actually broke the sound barrier whilst just climbing to the altitude where that test was going to be performed.
Oh shit!
So they realized that they were sitting on top of a truly powerful beast.
Yeah, they were.
But what was also truly interesting was just how robust this jet was. Unlike most of the modern jets, which required a lot of maintenance and a ground crew to operate, this was a prime example of a rugged Cold War era jet which needed minimum knowledge, maintenance, cost, and crew to operate. Due to the Swedish defense policy at the time and their neutrality, they needed...
I will say something about these era jets that I much prefer over the newer ones is sometimes simpler is better. And yeah, that is something that's really cool. considering the amount of maintenance time that just not even talking about like the F-35 where you have to be super skilled in it. No, we're talking like just like the F-16, which is considered more, or the F-18 even too. Just super simple, quote unquote, simple jets have to have a lot of maintenance and a lot of knowledge to fucking be able to fly.
To take on the Soviet Union by themselves if needed and intercept those Soviet bombers carrying the nukes. So that's why the J-35 was designed to take off and land at any highway or even a wider road in Sweden.
That's cool.
Crews were trained to
That's some cool shit.
these jets in the field, you know, at a petrol station, and many exercises were focused on exactly this scenario. Other than that, the pilots were pushing both themselves and the aircraft to the limits,
That's really cool.
real air combat scenarios in every training flight. But the dark side of this story is the Swedish Air Force would eventually lose over 500 pilots during the Cold War in all kinds of accidents and incidences training in this brutal type of warfare. And
oh, that's
considering
sad.
They weren't even at war with the Soviets.
Oh no, that poor
that was
plane.
rather insurmountable. But it does lead us
and
to
pilot,
one
I
of the most
guess.
interesting little facts
Sorry.
about the J-35.
You know what I
That
meant.
This is the jet that first performed the legendary Cobra maneuver. As we pointed out, the J-35 was an aerodynamically unstable plane in the era before fly-by-wire controls, making it very hard to handle in some scenarios, namely during high alpha maneuvers, where the large wing area would act as a giant air brake and bleed air speed, quickly leading to a stall. Basically, the last thing you want in a dogfight. So this is why the Swedish pilots started training on how to avoid super stalls and how to counter them, and the result was a maneuver called the Kort Parad. After a high alpha maneuver, by adding significant power to the engine and pushing the control stick at the same time, a pilot would be able to get the airplane back into its initial position without gaining altitude and without entering a stall. In the late 1960s,
I gotta know. That's cool and all. I gotta know how many. Ooh, the Viggen. I gotta know how many pilots did y'all lose to that though?
70s, when the Saab 37 Viggen entered service, Draken pilots found them very difficult to counter in a dogfight. So instead, they used their superstall countered maneuver as a last-ditch effort to get the Viggen off their tail, and then have them in sight when they passed by. The maneuver was called the Kort Parad, or short parry, a name taken from a fencing move.
Yeah,
As the
I like
Viggen
it.
wasn't capable of such a maneuver, it allowed the Draken pilots to stay a very formidable opponent in the warfare exercises, and they even performed them with actual patrols and interceptions. One of the more interesting stories is when a Finnish pilot intercepted a British Nimrod patrol plane over the Baltic Sea. The British pilots knew that with such a wing design, the Draken could not keep up to them with flying at very low speeds. So they decided to fly slower and slower, thinking that the Draken pilot would have to gain speed to not enter a stall and then overtake them. The Draken pilot, of course, simply performed the Cobra maneuver and stayed right behind them. The RAF pilot was very surprised and simply congratulated the Finnish colleague on an open frequency. The Soviets had their own encounters with the Draken as well, and sometimes sort of friendly duels would occur where pilots imitated a dogfight, and the Soviets were stunned when the Draken performed its famous maneuver and got out of impossible situations. But it's also interesting that the next performance of this maneuver were the Syrians when a
that's ballsy as fuck. Having friendly dogfight, haha, pretend a dogfight. That's kind of ballsy in a Cold War situation.
He was trying to save his MiG from stalling out after a high alpha maneuver and instead did a Cobra. He tried the maneuver again on his next flight in controlled conditions and shared his knowledge with not only his fellow pilots, but with its Egyptian colleagues as well. Israeli pilots wrote in their books about Egyptian MiGs standing on their tails during encounters during the 1967 Israel-Arab Wars, but we don't know for sure if they actually used them in combat. This eventually made its way back to the Soviets, where they perfected the maneuver and performed it at the Paris Air Show in 1989. So what happened to the Draken as it entered the modern era?
Did it get upgrades?
Draken went through several major upgrades, with the last jet serving in the Swedish Air Force up to 1999. Versions A to J served in Sweden, among them a C twin-seater and E a recon variant. Many pilot
twin-seaters kind of
were directly connected with the lack of dedicated twin-seaters with the previous jets like the J-21 and J-29.
Twin-seater is kind of a vibe. I'm kind of a sucker for some twin-seater shit.
Denmark, Finland, and Austria also operated J-35s, and the Austrians were the last to retire them in 2005. The J-35 never had any real combat engagements, but the closest it actually got to an actual fight was during the Yugoslav wars, where Yugoslav jets sometimes entered Austrian airspace, and the Drakens flew patrols armed with AIM-9s to counter any possible threat. However,
it's ballsy to fly into other airspace,
and it was loved by the pilots because it was a jet that you could really...
I say as an American, when our government and our military kind of makes it a thing of flying into other airspaces and be like, yeah, what you gonna do about it, you know?
Feel, and with a good pilot behind the controls with strong forearms, it was a potent weapon. I highly
Sounds like it would be.
Check out Ari Serenen's interview about his own experience with flying the J-35 during his career in the Finnish Air Force. And I hope that you liked this video today. And
yeah, this was a cool one.
Continuation of this story.
I don't remember who recommended this, but thank you for recommending it. This was super cool. Like, I see this all the time in War Thunder in the death screen, so it's actually cool to see it.
Like the Saab, Viggen, and the Gripen. And of course, as always, I apologize with
I do
my
like the Gripen
pronunciation of some of these Swedish words, because for my Australian tongue, they're really not that buttery smooth. But thanks for watching anyway. And this is it for the video, but before you go...
A good video, I enjoyed it.
With me as we absolutely blow...
Okay, nope, that's it. Alrighty, this was a good video, thank you. Well, that was found and explained how Sweden made the best fighter jet, the Saab 35 Draken. Honestly, just all of the fucking small little, oh shit, we broke the sound barrier on the model. Oh shit, we broke the sound barrier again when we were going up to test it. Oh shit, we did the Cobra. Like, so cool. Honestly, is super fucking cool. Make sure you guys check out the original, like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.